Teachers are the ones who are supposed to be looking out for us. So who do you tell when your teacher decides to bring a gun to class? Before I start, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, thank you for taking a chance on this video. I'm Leid. I typically post travel vlogs as well as interviews with people in entertainment industry and what you're watching right now, a story. So I took some notes on my cell phone just so I could keep track because this happened years ago and I just don't want to leave out the important details. So this all started during my freshman year of college. Now, I don't typically mention this, but it is important for you to know that I started college at 16. So I went to a community college, so let me not say I started like big boy college at 16. I graduated high school early per se, and I went to a community college in New York City. I took classes with students who were my age as well as a couple students who were younger than me. So if I'm not mistaken, this story takes place on the second or third day of class. Like, this was very early in the semester. This was something that made me think if I made a complete mistake going to this school. I already had reservations with other things that were going on, but when this happened, I was just like, really? So I already was not thrilled about taking this class in this particular classroom because it was in what I believed used to be a bomb shelter. So New York City doesn't have many bomb shelters, but we do have like these places that are like underground where if there's an emergency in a building, everyone has to rush to that place. So this classroom was that, which is horrifying for anyone, not only people who are claustrophobic, because could you imagine being trapped in a classroom with no windows with a bunch of 15-year-old boys? Like, just the smell alone is horrifying. So I was in a liberal arts program. For those of you who don't know, liberal arts is a 2-year degree that you could get at almost every community college. It's basically what you do if you don't know what you want to do or if you're in a college prep program. So you kind of take random classes and they're in all these different areas and you get a degree at the end. So it's something to take to your 4-year college. Now, this particular class that I was taking was psychology, and it was something that was interesting. It was not something I particularly wanted to take, but it was the class that was given to me. The professor, oh my goodness. So this professor was tall, he was sexy, he was Middle Eastern, and he had a British accent. So as you may know, certain people from the Middle East and from Indian descent and so on, if they speak English, they kind of have a British accent, like this really suave European accent. So I used to just love hearing this man talk, and he was so well put together. He was always well dressed, like semi-formal. He always just seemed cool and collected. Like, he was a guy, and on top of that, he was very young. So typically we would take classes with like these older professors that had been there for years, and then they decided to participate in this program with these young students. But this guy, he was not that much older than us, so it was like, okay, all right, let me hear what you gotta say. But now let me tell you a little bit about my classmates. So I don't even know where to begin with these people. Basically, no one cared about this class. No one cared about going to school. So my classmates, they all came from various backgrounds. A lot of them were from the hood. Like, they were straight up from the ghetto. They were either there because their parents forced them to be there, or they like had went to juvie, or they went to like something terrible happened in their life and they got this second chance because they were brilliant. Like, everyone in this class was super smart. I can't hold that against them, but they were crazy. Like, a lot of them were like really ghetto and really crazy, and some of them just like to act out. So yeah, this all adds up. This trust me, I know I'm talking a lot, but this all adds up. So now, on the day that this teacher decided to bring a gun, I started to notice he looked very nervous. So we're in this room and he's telling us about like some part of the brain or something, and we're learning terminology and so on, and he's like slightly sweating. So I know you're like, what's wrong with sweating? But if you're used to this guy and he's usually like very calm, and then all of a sudden he's like very clammy, and he's like, and you see like little tiny drops, and I'm just like, why does he look super anxious? Like, what is going on here? So then this man starts walking back and forth. So he starts walking back and forth. He's talking to us, but he's walking back and forth. And I'm thinking to myself, why does he, like, this doesn't, but then I had to keep in mind that he did tell us that this was his first time teaching. So yes, this was his first semester teaching any students, much less like college students or I guess high school age students in college. And he also briefly mentioned a couple times that he worked another job. He worked a late night, like an overnight shift that was extremely stressful. He never gave us details on this job. He just casually mentioned that sometimes he would come in and be a little slower or a little tired. So I just think, okay, he's walking back and forth to keep himself occupied. Like he's trying to stay awake because this man is sleepy. That must be it, because it could be nothing else going on here. I was wrong. There was a lot more going on there. So, yeah. After he decides to stop walking and he leans back against his desk, his hand like gently brushed against his leather jacket, and that's when I realized this man had a full Glock. Like, I'm like, this man had a strap. Like, he was packing in the classroom. He had a gun on his left hand side, and I'm just like, no, I didn't see that. So now let me explain where I sit in the classroom. I'm one of those students that I have to sit in the front of the classroom for several reasons. One, I wear glasses. Some people have asked because sometimes I squint, I don't wear contacts, I wear glasses. So if you see me in these videos with no glasses, yeah, I can't see. But you know, it is what it is. So I'm sitting in the front of the classroom, I'm listening to everything he says, and when I notice the gun, the first thing I think to myself is, I know I saw that because I have my glasses on. And I know that if shit hits the fan, I'm not making it out here. So then this guy decides to go behind his desk, open a textbook or something. Like, the only reason why I remember all of this is because I'm here like processing everything, like I'm cataloging it, because at this point I know something's wrong, but I don't know how wrong it is. So he's like behind his desk and he's flipping through the page, and I see it peek out again. So this time I see it here, and I'm like, yeah, 100% that's a gun. So there was this one student in the class that he thought he was a class clown. Like, you know that one kid in your class and he's not funny, and I don't know if he's trying to be cute, if he thinks this is gonna make people like him, but he's just not funny.
Stop it. Get some help.
So this kid raises his hand and he says something crazy. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he says something to the professor, and the professor comes back around, right? He walks around his desk. He leans back. He starts chuckling. He's like, and then he gets up, walks to the door, and closes the door. So now I'm freaking out. Before it was like, okay, there's a possibility something is wrong, but now I'm like, it's over. I don't even have reception down here to text my mom, but it's over. It's over. So I decide to turn around to the person behind me, and I turn back around because it starts to hit me that I have no friends in this class. I'm a new student in this program. The two people that I was semi-close to, one sat on this side close to the door, and the other one sat in the back of the other side of the room. So they were both far away from me. There's no way for me to tell them. I'm like, if I tell somebody what I saw, they're not going to believe me because no one else has noticed, because if someone else noticed, they would have said something. So then I'm like, nah, because he locked us in here. Like, the door is, like, it's a slam lock. This is a bomb shelter, so the door is locked. We're in here. We're in here with him. I turn to the person behind me and I whisper, I'm like, and they're like, what? And I'm like, and then I like say, okay, I have to be calm. Now, I'm someone that in these kind of situations, I typically am calm. Like, I typically could get myself out of the weird spot, like see what's going on, play it cool, get out of it, and then freak out afterwards. This situation was slightly different because I did not know the area. I'm like, even if I'm to run out this room, I might get lost in this building. So I turn to the person, like I said before, and I say, I need you to listen very carefully to everything I'm about to tell you, and I need you to remain calm. The professor has a gun on his left-hand side, and his finger, his thumb, keeps pressing against the gun. I don't know why he has it. You need to tell the person behind you to tell the person behind them, because if something goes down today, the only way we're making it out of here is if we all work together. And now I'm a crier. So at this point, I'm like about to start bawling. But I also remember that if this guy looks at me and realizes something is wrong, because I'm sitting in the front, like I'm literally in front of his desk, so it's rude and bad enough that I turned around and I'm whispering to the person behind me, but I'm trying to play it off like I'm asking a question about whatever neuropsychological thing this man was talking about. At this point, he could have been talking about mathematics because I wasn't listening. I'm trying to figure out how I'm getting out of here. So the person behind me, he looks, he takes like a, he's low key with it though. I appreciated that. He takes like a little peek, and then he's like, oh, it finally hit me. So when I saw his face, I'm like, oh my God. So all of a sudden, we're playing telephone. Like, I hear shh, shh, shh. And when it reaches, funny enough, I'm gonna call my other friend Bon Bon. He'll know who he is. When it reaches Bon Bon, his eyes like popped out, and that's when I'm like, oh my God, the professor's gonna catch on that we know something's up, because it's like so many different reactions going on in the room. And eventually, I'm like, okay, I think almost everyone knows, so we're either going to attack this guy together. Like, mind you, I'm 16 years old. And I was like 110 pounds. I don't know who I was gonna attack, but I'm like, we're gonna get out of here. There's like 20 of us and like one of him. We're gonna get out of here. All of a sudden, the same kid I mentioned before, the class clown, he raises his hand. Now, at first, there's nothing wrong with this because the professor had asked a question. I don't remember what the question was, but it was something with the class, with the lesson, of course. And he raises his hand like he's going to answer. All I hear is, Professor, yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but why do you have a gun?
That's what the problem was. Because I heard him first. I said, hold on. I said, hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
The professor said, what? And then all of a sudden, I just saw the head. So now I'm like, everyone, like, I mean, half of the class flew to the back of the room. I'm frozen in my chair like this, like shaking. Some people in their seat, other people like, what? What are you talking about? He don't got a gun. And then somebody else kept saying, nah, what? Nah, what? And I'm hearing so many things. And then and this is all happening like in the span of 1 to 2 minutes, but it felt like 10 minutes because everyone just had a different reaction. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, man, we're not gonna make it out tonight. And I start thinking about what my mom was cooking for dinner. Like, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I start thinking like, damn, like, I'm not gonna get to eat tonight. I'm not gonna see my dad again. I'm not, because the professor is just like stoic. Like he just like, he didn't answer, he didn't make any sense. So now I'm like, yeah, this is it. And we all flew to the back of the room. No one flew towards the door. And then he says, hold on everyone. Can we all calm down? Let's get back to our seats. And I promise you it's a simple explanation. So now everyone is like slowly creeping back to their desks. And like I said, I'm frozen throughout all of this. So parts of it I probably don't even remember correctly because I'm just like... And he says, so I actually am allowed to have a concealed weapon because I am a NYPD forensic psychologist. So I did not lie to you guys when I told you that I do work an overnight shift as a forensic psychologist, but I do not work in a laboratory. So now, like I mentioned before, he never told us what he did. He just said he was a forensic psychologist. This was his first time teaching, blah, 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 blah. But none of us ever thought that he was like a op. Like, none of us was like, oh, he's a cop. So when he said that now, like, it was just relief. Like, at this point, I'm like, oh, so you're the police. And then it hits me. If he was the police, we would have seen a badge or something. Like, we would have known. This is a room full of people that have had experiences in one way or the other with the police. So somebody in the back screams, nah, you lying. And I'm thinking, why are you provoking the man? Like, even if he's not a cop, let's get out of the room, and then that's when it's gonna matter. Like, we're not coming back. But that's not exactly what happened. So he explains that he was afraid to tell us, and it's such a relief, and that's why now he could take off his jacket, because usually he has to wear like a bulky coat, or like he's been wearing the same leather jacket for like 2 weeks because he just thought this was the only jacket that we wouldn't be able to see the print of the gun on his side, and that now he could calm down and he could stop sweating. So now everyone's asking questions and so on. He like used the remainder of the class time to answer all of our questions, and he's saying that basically he was sweating because it's hot, which I can't lie, like I mentioned before, this room had no window, so it was hot. That's another reason why when he went to close the door, I was like, okay, great, this is how it's going down. But he explained he's a cop, that, you know, he has to have his weapon on him at all times. And to be honest, like, once he said that and he told us more about his background and him immigrating to America to serve this country and so on, I was like, yeah, this is why he acts like that. Because he had like a certain personality that is not relevant to this story, but you know those people that they're very gung-ho about America, which is cool and all, like, you know, I'm American, you know, a lot of us watching are American, but like this is like the land of opportunity, and this is he was just passionate about everything in America, passionate about everything in psychology. But he said, like, yeah, his dream in life was to become a cop. So after he got his, I think, PhD in forensic psychology, instead of taking a job that would have been higher paying, he became a rookie in the police force, and that's why he ended up having to teach high school or college prep students, because he needed extra money to be able to afford his apartment and so on. So that's basically the end of the story. We all made it out because he was a cop, and I also discovered that he was definitely packing that day. He had 3 guns on him, because when he took off that coat, all I saw was bing, bang, boom. Like, I know that was super corny, but like his body was crazy. Like, I never had another professor that looked as good as this man. And you know, for the women watching, you know, when you see that one person and you're just like, I know I can't have you, but if I could. But either way, he was a cop, so yeah, that was another. But yeah, so that's the end of this story. That's when my teacher brought a gun to school, and yeah, we all flipped out, and then it turned out that I guess administration knew he was carrying this gun. So what actually inspired me to tell this story was I recently was watching an episode of ABC's The Rookie, and basically the rookie went back to school and his classmates found out that he was a cop, and there was a whole discussion on should cops disclose that they're cops. And in my opinion, they should, because trust me, it was a way better class after we found out that this guy was a police officer and not a psychopath. So yeah, but thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. I am going to start telling story times every week. So if you're looking forward to hearing another juicy story time about all the ridiculous experiences I've had in my life, please subscribe and like this video, share this video, send it to a friend, and then send it to our next friend, and tell that friend to tell him cousin, to tell him other friend, and you know, we're just gonna keep going with the team. But thank you again for watching this video.